Oh my God, Cody. You can read minds.
Indeed. And it's Stardust.
These videos are satiric reviews. You don't have to agree, but don't bitch about it. I hate this channel.
Hey there, I'm the SIJW V Infuso, and the man I'm talking about today needs no introduction. Cody Rhodes, one of the biggest names in all of wrestling, being the grandson of a plumber, his father the late great Dusty Rhodes, and his brother being a legend in his own right. Probably best known as those were some pretty big shoes to fill, or at least big footprints to be walking in, and yet somehow, Cody did it, becoming every bit as iconic and important to the wrestling industry as his family who grappled before him. The man became synonymous with the Intercontinental Championship in the WWE, winning the title twice and even reverting the belt back to its classic design. This man was also a 6-time tag team champion, so I guess you could say he was a good hand. Eventually, due to creative differences that we'll get into here, he'd leave the company and go on to prove that he wasn't a mid-card talent but a bona fide main eventer, who just hadn't been given his due. In a short amount of time, Cody became one of, if not the biggest name on the indie scene, joining the ranks of the Bullet Club and forming the Elite, becoming the NWA and Ring of Honor World Champions, amongst a sea of many other accomplishments. Cody very quickly, whether intentionally or not, proved to his former employers that he wasn't another man on the roster. He was the man. And honestly, I don't really understand how this was even a question. Everything Cody had done, every gimmick he'd been given, he'd made it work. He took that ball and he ran with it. And granted, these gimmicks weren't always flattering. Go out there and be a narcissistic, conceited prick. Now go out there and wear this plastic jockstrap on your face and tell everyone you're deformed. Now go out there with a strange pedo stash and act intellectually superior. Cody made everything he did work on some level. And despite his constant gimmick changes, I personally always stayed invested in what he was doing because he always found a way to entertain. Cody of course would go on to establish AEW, a company that has a lot of people excited about the future of the industry, bringing in new fans and bringing back older ones who had given up due to the WWE's current product. And just think, none of that would have happened. None of that would have came to fruition if it wasn't for... As stated before, Cody is the younger brother of the man formerly known as Goldust. After losing a match with Randy Orton, and losing his job along with it, his big brother was brought back into the company to fight for his honor and try to get his brother his TV spot back. After Goldust, as my fast fingers misspelled his name on more than one occasion, lost a match to Orton, he was promptly showed the door. In retaliation, good old Dusty Rhodes would make a return to the company, trying to get his boys their jobs back. He didn't succeed in doing so, but he would receive a knockout punch for his troubles, so take that as a parting gift. Cody and Golden Rhodes would follow this up by crashing shows in an act of revenge. The boys finally got their jobs back after defeating the tag team champions, The Shield, and they'd follow that victory up in a rematch against Reigns and Rollins, where they managed to dethrone them as the tag team champions. They'd go on to defend the belts before eventually dropping them to the Old Age Outlaws. Following the title loss, the brothers began a bit of a losing streak. Feeling dismayed, Cody decided that he, not his aging brother, was the weak link in their team, and took a step back while trying to find him a proper replacement. Goldust would team with the likes of Sin Cara, Kofi Kingston, and ironically later tag team partner R-Truth to little to no success, before Cody finally explained that he now found him the perfect partner. And later that night, a Stardust was born. Cody donned similar face paint and wore an almost identical bodysuit to his brother, completely capturing and matching his cosmic energy. And while his appearance was obviously heavily based on Goldust during that time period, his persona was much similar to the Goldust of eras past. He embodied the weird zany nature of the original Goldust character, but really found a way to make it his own. It's kind of like when two actors play the same role. Yes, I can see elements of Batman in both Kevin Conroy and Michael Keaton's versions of the character, but they're still very different portrayals. Stardust, in a lot of ways, at least to me, felt like a reinterpretation of Goldust. It was like he was repackaged using the same cookie cutter they used to make Goldust, but the ingredients of said cookie were entirely different. Does that metaphor make any sense? Probably not, so let's just move on. Stardust was a strange, divisive reinvention of Cody Rhodes that some people loved and others hated. On one hand, some felt Cody was yet again being underutilized, while others felt it was a fun new phase in his already phase-full career. And I could honestly see both sides of that argument. Stardust promos were always very interesting. He kinda would speak in what I can only describe as riddles with no question marks, so very unique individual to say the least.
Wait, Stardust and a live microphone. Oh, you poor delusional fools! Quick, Stardust Stumper! If all the gold in Fort Knox, all the gold in Solomon's Temple, if it eventually grows, duh, that's what he would have you believe, Dodo. That's what he would have the WWE Universe believe. When you wish upon a star, the proton to my electron charges of the same size. What does it? The answer is Stardust.
Wow! Now I'm the normal one.
This must be gold, right? We've been watching the last few weeks. This must be gold. I'm going to tell you about Triton, one of the moons of Jupiter, the age of Aquarius.
Now realigned, the brothers quickly won back their titles and were a prominent part of the tag team division. That was until it was inevitably decided that the WWE Universe wasn't big enough for the Dust brothers. The two feuded for a time being, putting on matches that sure aren't necessarily instant classics, but weren't what I would consider bad either. There was a lot of talk within the IWC about this feud going all the way to WrestleMania, which of course, it did. Following the breakup of the Rhodes Dust family, Cody would go out on his own, surprisingly continuing to wrestle under the name Stardust, and I think this is where fans really started to sour on the gimmick. Even fans who appreciated the Stardust gimmick didn't really want to see this become permanent. For a lot of wrestling fans, Stardust was a fun detour, but not the overall destination. They wanted this road to go down a different path. Okay, I'm sorry for the puns, I will reel it back in. Stardust continued to evolve over time, and slowly began to take up the role of supervillain.
That the heroes will always triumph, although driven to their light, you still flock to see the Galactic Empire rule. The Emerald Archer goes toe-to-toe with Stardust! Or to watch Doomsday crush the brooding bat and the all-American alien. But he is perfection. The only issue I have is Neville. He panders. Don't let me down like the man that gravity deprived Neville. He pandered, he meandered, and he lost. Be my hero.
Beat me up, Stardust. See, I'm playing the game.
Absolutely.
Feuding with the pseudo-superhero Neville, and you could tell he's a hero because sometimes he likes to wear a cape. That's it. And he would team with the Ascension, becoming known as the Cosmic Wasteland. And this was a pairing that made sense. They never really got to do anything great, but I think given the opportunity, they could have really had a run with this. And unfortunately, this very brief alliance is probably the height of the career of the Ascension. Looking to really hammer the point home that he was in fact the supervillain. I mean seriously, the guy's dressed as Mr. Sinister here. Stardust began a feud with the Green Arrow. Yep, none other than Stephen Amell showed up and wrestled a match against the brother of a golden movie critic. I won't deny, this was actually pretty entertaining, you know, as far as celebrity crossovers go. I mean, it wasn't Tyson and Austin, but, you know, also wasn't Pee Wee Herman. I think this is a win in my book. By this point, the Stardust character seemed to have overstayed his welcome. Not only with audiences, but with Cody Rhodes himself. Cody made his disappointment in the gimmick clear with management, who remained adamant that he stay in that role.
You have no idea how much I respect you, but this is a business. Cody, it's with deep regret that I have to tell you.
We're still gonna make you do the Stardust gimmick.
Even I feel sorry for Cody.
Cody even pitched the idea of wrestling on Raw as Cody Rhodes and on SmackDown as Stardust, or maybe vice versa, only to have that idea turned down. Frustrated at the gimmick he was given and the way that he was seen by the company, he'd asked for his release, determined to be seen as the performer that he knew he was. And it's hard to deny that he was extremely successful in that endeavor. I think in his head his objective was to leave the company, prove himself elsewhere, and force his former employers to acknowledge his place in the wrestling world, and hopefully bring him back in a much more fitting role. But ultimately, he went a different route. And while a lot of people, Cody probably included, see the Stardust character as a brain fart, I still really like the gimmick and what Cody did with it. Was it the best use of someone of his talents? No, absolutely not. But I think it's hard to deny that he played his part, while absolutely loathing it. I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I actually like Stardust. But to be fair, I like what Cody's doing now a whole hell of a lot better.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You're watching the Social Injustice Warrior V Infuso's channel, dude. So if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too want to become a V-tard, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that little bell icon to get updates and notifications. Ooh, tell him what up, Mach. Ooh, yeah. Follow the man on Twitter, yeah, because we all know it's not stalking if it's on the internet, yeah. Join the madness by joining the Discord, and if you have a moment of time and a free dollar to spare, head over to the SIJW's Patreon, dig it, where you can request videos, get exclusive videos, and early access to content, yeah. Or go down to PayPal, where you can buy the shirts, brother. But most importantly, just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.